Legito will help you manage the lifecycle of contracts and other documents, automate document drafting, efficiently build custom applications, collaborate and negotiate contracts, digitally sign documents, and improve your performance. Each Legito component works together seamlessly to provide a powerful solution. Legito is a no-code, enterprise-ready, and fully customizable platform. Let's get started with a quick high-level overview. Legito Document Lifecycle Management will let your organization easily create document workflows. Legito will make sure that everybody follows the correct process. That includes internal and external sharing, approvals, document changes, and reminders. Document drafting automation allows your experts to efficiently build your templates using Legito's unique AI-powered template editor that suggests logical dependencies. Selections and inputs may be created contextually inside Legito Smart Documents. Data from Legito Smart Documents are automatically extracted. Legito Objects is a rapid, out-of-the-box way to build customized applications that meet your business needs. Increase your automating power exponentially by creating objects such as client and vendor management lists, tailor-made case management tools, property reports, customizable knowledge repositories, and countless other possibilities. Use your Legito workspace to collaborate and negotiate either Legito Smart Documents or Microsoft Office documents. Legito has all the features you would expect. Track changes, compare, comments, real-time conversations, notifications, and so much more. Use Legito Sign embedded into your Legito workspace to digitally sign contracts and other documents with your counterparties. Additional e-signature providers such as Adobe Sign or DocuSign are also integrated to your workspace. Legito tracks all events and actions in your workspace, as well as all choices and data in Legito Smart Documents. Legito then analyzes this structured and categorized data to give you valuable insights into your documents, projects, and processes. Legito is more than software. Once you sign up with Legito, you're joining a community. We want you to get the most out of your investment. We offer additional resources free of charge to help you get better acquainted with top tips and tricks to utilize Legito's robust products and achieve more with Legito thanks to industry insights and best practice advice. Our step-by-step interactive courses will educate you quickly to become a Legito Power user, and our categorized and detailed knowledge base will empower you to confidently tackle any situation. Let's connect to explore how Legito can help you achieve more and reach your goals faster.
Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning if you're joining from the US. It's great to have you here, and we've got quite a few of you. Not a great surprise to us, because the reason we're running this is that if you joined us at the Power Up conference in Prague a little while ago, we ran some workshops, and one of the feedbacks we had from that was the workshops run by Mark were phenomenally popular, and we had some specific requests that we run them as a webinar. So I'm going to introduce you in a minute to Mark. Mark and his team look after the US office. And although we're talking about the more advanced features of Legito today, I hope everyone will take an interest, even if you don't use it, because what we do find is that although everyone starts off with a simple project, people get used to it, gradually want to do more and more, and before you know it, you're wanting to do the advanced things. So immediately going to hand over to Mark, and good day, Mark.
All right. Thank you very much, Charles. I appreciate it. I'm very excited to demonstrate a little bit of some of Legito's features to you today. Like Charles said, this workshop or this webinar really came out of a workshop that we presented at our conference a few months back in Prague. So I'm very excited to share some of the details with you here in a webinar. Just a little bit about Legito briefly before I get started. For those who are new to Legito or joining and have not seen it before, a little bit about us as a business. We started in 2014. And we were started by a legal technologist who is, a lawyer who is also a technologist, who thought there had to be a better way to accomplish some of the things he was doing in his business. So he built a new solution, and that grew into Legito, which today is used in over 50 countries and used by Fortune 500 companies all over the world. Used in over 50 countries. And you can see a few of the customers there on this slide. Just a little bit about what our solution does. we have what we call a smart document workspace. And this smart document workspace allows you to collaborate and work with documents. So that would be everything from smart document drafting or document automation to being able to manage your documents, to being able to go through an approval process of workflow, manage e-signature, deliver self-service solutions where you can actually share those documents to external parties, engage with your clients, negotiate, track changes, track deadlines, and have an audit trail against your documents. So there's a lot of core functionality built into the document workspace. This webinar today is really around document drafting. So it's going to be some of the more advanced features around the drafting of the document and template automation. So if you're new to Legito, this webinar is going to dive a little bit into the deep end. And so there's going to be some relatively basic topics and then some more advanced topics in this webinar. So if you're new to Legito, just a few great places to start. And these links are available on our site. You can easily access them. I try to show that here, but if you just go to our blog site, you'll find these. But we have an overview video happened to stream right before this webinar. Great way of how to get to know Legito. And unfortunately, I can't speak with quite the same voice that guy does in that video. So you'll have to put up with me for this hour. But a great overview video if you missed it at the beginning of this webinar. And then also, I did a webinar a few months back that was kind of a walkthrough document to finished product with an NDA, a pretty basic document. And I highly recommend that if you're unfamiliar with Legito as well. It's a great starting point. Really kind of walks you through the whole process of, hey, I've got a document that I want to automate. What do I do with it? How do I get it out there? And what do I build around it? So it's a great webinar as well. But what are we going to talk about today? Today, I'm going to talk about styles and advanced layout design. We will spend a good portion of time on that, and I'll explain why in a little bit. We'll talk about working with conditions, compound conditions, etc., repeats, including repeats in a sentence, nesting repeats, those types of things within a document, tags and scripting. So talk a little bit about the scripting capability that we have in Legito. We'll discuss Legito objects and the benefit of using those objects and what you can do with them. And then we'll talk about some other tips and tricks, and those may kind of come along the way as we're looking at things. So I'm going to spend most of the time in the software, but before I do that, just one more slide or a couple more slides here. So first, understanding styles. So the reason I wanted to put this slide up and discuss this is if you're new to Legito or you're an existing Legito customer, a key thing about Legito is we are a completely cloud-based solution. What that means is our template editing is in our proprietary template editor. Templates are in our own file type. We import Word content, and then we export to Word or PDF. But when you're working with a Legito document, it is a proprietary file type. And this allows us to have our own template editor in the browser. There's some great benefits to that. But what it also means is we have to be able to manage styles, and we have to be able to manage styles in Word as well because we're exporting to Word. And so there is an idea of Legito styles and Microsoft Word styles. So I just want to discuss the distinction between those pretty quickly. So Legito, we have our own set of styles in our software. Those are managed in your Legito settings. These styles are similar to Word styles in that you will have a style name, you'll have some formatting associated with it, including indentations, margins. Apologize for the dog barking in the background, and if you can hear that. But we have the ability to manage those styles in the solution and be able to, I apologize, we're going to unplug something. All right. Nothing like a live webinar with somebody coming to your front door. So we allow you to export those styles into your completed document. So you can actually use the Legito style definition as the styles when they go into your Word document. Or a specific Legito style can export to a Word style, which is defined in an advanced layout design. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Then you've got Microsoft Word styles. So if you're familiar and work with Microsoft Word, you're comfortable with those. That's the styling feature that you use to control the format of your document content in Word. They have their own style organizer and manager, and where you can define the different features and opportunities on those styles. Styling is the Microsoft preferred way to control paragraph level formatting in your Word documents. Although I would say it is not the most commonly used way sometimes to format documents. A lot of people do kind of in-place styling, where you just highlight some text and change it. So everything's the normal style, and you just change some of the text rather than creating a proper style that's reusable across your documents. So styling is the preferred way, but maybe not as commonly used sometimes. And styles can control things like your automatic numbering and other default document behavior. So advanced layout design. So you can imagine if Legito has their own set of styles and Microsoft has their own set of styles, unless those match up 100%, there's going to be some difference in those. And when you want to export to a Word document, you may want to control that. So Legito has a feature called Advanced Layout Design, which allows a predefined Word document to be used for the layout of the styles, the layout and or the styles in documents when they're exported from Legito. So that might be the header footer, the margins, and some things that are defined in that layout. But it also may be styles that will be used, because again, a Legito style can be marked to say, hey, use this style from the advanced layout design when you export. So why use it? I kind of mentioned that maybe you have a Word document that has some features in it that aren't yet supported in Legito, and so you could utilize an advanced layout design for that. Another way is if you have a lot of existing house styles, using an advanced layout design is a nice way to import those styles into Legito and leverage them. And then also, because you can perform some layout with it, this gives you an opportunity to use an advanced layout design for various branding options. So maybe you're doing work with the same type of document, but for various clients, or maybe even within your business, you've got different sub entities and the content's the same, but you want to change the header and footer for different entities. You could manage something like that as well with advanced layout design. So how do I create or manage one? Well, we'll go see. So let's get into the software and actually look at some things now. All right, so what I want to do is spend a little bit of time actually looking at importing a document into Legito and some of the different things that happen with that. And then we'll look at an advanced layout design and an application of that, how you can easily import and manage that inside of Legito. So I'm going to use just a simple demonstration workspace that I have here. I've got a few templates preloaded that we'll look at for some of the other options. But for the styling here, we're going to start just with the Word document. So to start out here, initially, I'm going to look at this import example document because I want to point out a few things to think about when you import a document into Word. This is a completely fake document that I made up for the purposes of demonstrating this. So you can see I've got a document that's got some starting text and then a little bit more text, and there's a hard return in between this. Then I've got a paragraph that's indented, and maybe I've got a signature block, and then I've got some numbered lists down here at the bottom. I put all of these things in here because generally these are some things you may want to think about before you import a document into Legito, once you understand what Legito is and how it handles certain things. So a few things to note when you import content into Legito is it will remove white space. So if you're using just hard returns to space things out, there are a few different things you can do. You can add, paragraph clauses in the Legito template to add that space. We'll look at that in a minute. You can do some things before you import the document to make sure you have that spacing, like proper styling with space after the paragraph. We find a lot of documents, they're just using a hard return to get an extra hard return in between every paragraph instead of setting a style on normal that has like a 12 point after the paragraph. Another thing is tabs. So tabs are not supported in a browser-based document as easily when you're rendering a document in a browser. So Legito doesn't support tabs. So if you're using tabs like this signature block is, so if I just turn on formatting, you'll see this is using tabs. When this imports into Legito, then I'll get something that's a little jumbled together. And I could manually change that in Legito, or I could choose to change it before I import the document into Legito. And then numbered lists. Numbered lists can work great importing into Legito, and you can import those numbered lists. We'll look at that in a moment. But if you choose to use an advanced layout design, there's some nice tips and tricks to creating styles around those numbered lists as well. So I've got an example there. So if we were to leave this document unchanged, we'll import it as a new template in Legito. I just want to point out some of those changes, and we'll make a few edits just so that you can see some of these tips and tricks as you're styling and importing a document into Legito to think about. So I'm going to go back to Legito, and I'm going to create a new template. We'll just call it import example. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and edit that template. And we're going to import our Word document. So we'll go ahead and grab that particular Word document. And click import. Now I'm going to leave all of these other options off. I'm going to leave the default options, and I'm going to import just styles with this document. So I'm going to go ahead and say import. And so just to point out a few of those things, just like I talked about, you can see when I come into the document, I don't have a hard return between these two paragraphs. And so I could resolve that one of two different ways. Of course, like I said, I could actually add some spacing after on this paragraph. So it imported some spacing after of 8, which is with that normal style. But if I wanted 24, whatever it is, I could manually adjust that in the template in Legito after I've imported it. I could also add just an additional paragraph element in there and put nothing in it to get an extra paragraph mark or a paragraph mark in the exported document. You can see my indented paragraph came in great. So that was there just as an example. I don't have to necessarily change anything with that. And then because tabs aren't supported, you can see my signature block came in a little bit weird. So I could manually change that signature block, or I could change it in the template before I import it. And the best way to handle these signature blocks, if you're not going to put tabs in, is to use a table. So I could create a table, have a border on a cell, and then have a cell below it with the text signature, and then just a column in between that's empty for the spacing between the two signature lines. So I've got a lot of different things I can adjust after I import the template, or I can adjust before I import the template. And so just to give a quick example of that, if we close this, we'll leave this template open actually. If we go back to that document, we can make that adjustment right here. So let's say I want to create a new template. I'm sorry, a new table. So we'll create a table like this, and we can take our borders off. And then we really just need a border here. And I do this a lot, so I tend to work sometimes without the grid lines on. You can turn your grid lines on your, there we go. And then we would just need text here that said signature and signature. So sometimes showing grid lines makes it a little bit easier to work with that table. But if I update this like this, and I can play with the column widths if I want, I can also adjust those once they come into Legito. But if I save that document and I import it now, I'll get a little bit different behavior, right? So now that I've got this in a table, that will import the way I want it to. And I wanted to show that for two purposes. I want to show you now, if I've imported a brand new document, I haven't started making any changes to it in Legito, I can easily re-import it. So I can just go to import template, and I can drag in that document, and we'll import that same template. And so now I've got a table in here that I can work with, and I can make these widths wider or narrower to get the information that I need. But I've got a line there, and I've got a table with the two signature lines rather than just the text all smushed together. Now, I could have manually built that table in the template editor just as well. The one last thing I want to point out is numbering. So you can see my numbering came in as 1, 2, 3, and then 3.1, 3.2, but that's not what it was in my document. It was 1 and A and B for 3A and 3B. You can choose to import numbering settings into Legito when you're importing that content as well. So if I go back one more time and import that document, we'll just drag and drop. And I say, import numbering. Then if I do that, then I can even say restart numbering settings. I don't have to in this case, but I say import. Now it's going to pull in that numbering and create that numbering style in Legito. And now my numbering is also matching what was in the document when exported, we'll do that. All right. So I'm getting some reports of choppy audio. I apologize. Hopefully that will resolve itself. I'm not getting any report of bad connection on my end, so we'll try to get it clear. Give me one moment. I'm just going to double check something. All right, we're going to move forward here. So what I want to do now is I want to show you the idea of an advanced layout design and creating that advanced layout design and some of the benefits of that within the system. So there are a few different ways to manage your styles across your templates. And when you think about an advanced layout design, again, like I said, it's going to allow you to create a kind of a style template that can be used. Now, depending on your templates and how you work in your business, there are a couple of different ways you can approach this. So one is I need to create an advanced layout design for each individual template because of maybe some specific layout or formatting that needs to be used within that template. I can also create a kind of style template, a standardized set of styles that get used across my entire business. And so if my documents will allow it, then I can create a single advanced layout design that gets used for all templates. Now, that will really depend on some of the things you want to accomplish with your templates. There may be cases when you want to use a one-off advanced layout design because of some of the layout that you want to control with it, not just styles or other options that you can use in advanced layout design. But let's take an example document and just say we're going to create a one-off advanced layout design, and we're going to import this in. And this is the NDA that I happen to use, or a modification of that NDA that I happen to use in the webinar back in April. And if we look at this document in Microsoft Word, you can see there are some defined styles in this document. What I mean by that is that the document author in Word has actually created some specific styles. So it's not even using the Word standard styles for some of these things. If you look at this title, it's using a style defined as NDA title, NDA normal. So there's a specific style for the normal text in this document. And if I look at the numbering, it's NDA list 1. So there are some defined styles in this document that are nice and well defined. And so that's great. Those will import into Legito. If I chose to just check import styles, it would import those styles and create them as Legito styles for me, similar to what we saw in the sample document that we just imported. But if I want these styles to come in and create an advanced layout design, then I can use that last checkbox on the import that we were seeing on the import screen. So let's look at that and what that does in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. We're going to go ahead and go to templates, and we'll create a new template, call it NDA, and we'll just say create, and we'll go ahead and edit that template, and we'll grab that document and import it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and check the import numbering, and I'm going to check now the save imported Word as advanced layout design. So what this is going to do is this is going to create a brand new layout design for me from this template, from this document that I'm importing, and it will automatically be assigned to this template. So there's some nice benefit to doing this if you know you need a layout specifically for this template. What it will do is it's going to import the styles because I have this checkbox checked. And it's also going to mark those styles to automatically be used with the layout design. So if I check this box and say import, it's going to import that content. Now this is going to look like what we'd expect. We'll get our clauses all imported, and I've got numbering on them. But if we look at the design, we can see that the styles specifically imported: NDA list 1, NDA normal. And if we look at the title, NDA title. So those styles were imported and created as Legito styles. And if I look in my settings where I manage styles in advanced layout design, if I go to advanced layout design, you can see it automatically created this advanced layout design template for me. And so what this advanced layout design template is this is assigned to that NDA template, and it's going to use this as the style definition and the layout definition for the NDA document when it's generated. And then under styles, I'll see I've got my standard Legito styles that were here. And then I've got these 4 NDA styles that were imported from that document. Normal and list paragraph were imported from the other document we were working with, where we never created an advanced layout design. So just to point out the difference in having that checkbox checked, it created a style in both cases. But if we look at this normal style, and we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see this says export style to Microsoft Word. That means that when Legito uses the style, when it exports to Word, it's going to use the Legito definition for normal for any document that it creates. But if I look at this NDA normal and scroll down, this checkbox is unchecked, and it says the default style from Advanced Styles is NDA normal. So when you use that checkbox when importing a new document, it creates that style for you and automatically unchecks that checkbox and sets it to use that when you export. And so now, if we were to just, without any automation, save this template, test it, so we're not going to add any fields or anything, and then we just save and download this document, you'll see two things. So here is the advanced layout design NDA that this template's going to use. And if I export it to Word, you can see I'm using, when I get that exported Word document, I'm going to have, that style, NDA normal, NDA title, NDA list 2, and those are all defined in this completed document and applied like they were in the imported document. So the advanced layout design now controls that styling. And if I want to change the advanced layout design, I can change that from right here. So once I have one uploaded, I can download the document, make changes to it, and upload it at any time. So just to show you an example of that. So if I download this, open it up, and we'll change something just interesting. So a couple things you'll notice when it created that advanced layout design, it kind of deleted all the content of the document when it imported and it replaced it with this content placeholder. So you can manually create these advanced layout designs, and we'll look at that in just a moment. But this allows you to, basically, Legito is going to replace the content of this tag with the content of the template or the document that gets generated. So let's just change a style in here and re-upload it just to show you an example. So if we change the style, so we're going to change it to NDA normal. We'll just come in, we'll make it Verdana, and we'll make it a color, just so it makes it all very obvious that we changed something. So now our normal style is going to be this blue color. So we've changed that. Make sure I change NDA normal, because that's the one that the template's going to use. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just save this advanced layout design. And if I re-upload it, so I click edit, and I'll grab that file. It'll be in my downloads, the top one that I edited here. So I'm going to upload that and edit it, and I can apply some settings here. If I was updating an existing advanced layout design, I can choose some of these options. I usually use the default. This checkbox we might use sometimes, and all that means is, hey, I've already put in my content tag, so I could actually check it here because that content tag exists. And that way, Legito doesn't try to remove any content and put in its own content tag. So we'll say edit template. So with that change, I've just changed the layout. So 0 change to the template, 0 change to a Legito style. I just changed that advanced layout design. If I come back and download this document, it gets generated with that advanced layout design that I just uploaded. And when it opens up in Word, you can see everything that is in that NDA normal font is different, or style is now different. It's blue, it's Verdana. So I can apply changes to the underlying styles. And you'll notice the style doesn't change in here because we didn't change the Legito style for NDA normal. We only changed the layout design that gets exported. So you have this ability to manipulate with advanced layout design just the exported document with the styles that are used in that advanced layout design. All right, so I want to show another nice trick with advanced layout design that's a nice advanced feature, but can really be beneficial in some cases. So I'm going to show you a template that I've created and an existing document we're going to import as an advanced layout design to show you something. So let's close this NDA template. We're going to go to our templates. And I want you to look at this Legito proposal document. So this is a template that's got a form and a document, but it is a very simple form and document. So if you've worked with Legito forms and documents, you'll see this is just some basic questions. So I've got 2 things: a proposal information that's gathering a date, a client name, a client address, and then some subscription information. And that is repeated. So we're going to come back to repeats in a minute. And then I've got a form. If you look, or sorry, the actual proposal document. If you look at this proposal document, all it is a table. So it's a table of subscription information. And let's say I want to actually generate a broader proposal document with this template. So if I were to test this document right now, you can see I've got a form that gathers some subscription information, and then I've got this table down at the bottom that's going to show filled out with the subscription information. But I don't have any client information. I don't have any of the rest of the proposal guts, right? So let's take a look at a specific document that I want to import as my advanced layout design. All right. So what I've got here is I've got a proposal document, and this proposal document has a lot of content, but most of this content doesn't ever change for me. So I want to quickly generate a proposal, and I could create this as a Legito template and import all of this content and manage the styling and formatting in Legito. But all that really changes in this document is a few static fields, the client name, the date, and then a table. Now, this isn't really our proposal, but this is a nice example. And so I can build this out. So maybe I just want my table here to be replaced with that table that I've got created. Well, there is a way in that advanced layout design to use both the content placeholder to show where the template content is going to go, but also a way to tag where tagged fields in Legito, their values can go. So let me show you what I mean. So I'm going to close this. We'll close our NDA. Let's open a document that I've now marked up that I'm going to upload as an advanced layout design. So this is documented in our documentation. You can look at this in our knowledge base. But in an advanced layout design document, you use this syntax, $tag, colon, and then you can put a Legito tag name and then a closing $. And Legito will replace this text with the value of that client name tag in Legito. And so you can see I've basically taken the cover page and I put the client name, the proposal date, and the proposal date and client name and address here. And then if we scroll down to where that table would be, we've just got the content tag. And that's basically it. Nothing else really changes in this document. So I can build kind of a simple Legito template and then use the advanced layout design to get the behavior that I want in my output document to have all of the rest of the content. So we can actually go and take this Word document and we can upload it as an advanced layout design. So if we go to settings, advanced layout design, add, and we can grab that document. So we're in here, and I'll just call this proposal layout. And here I'm going to check this box. So advanced style annotations have already been applied. So I don't want Legito to delete all the content and put in its own content tag. I've already added the content tag and my other tags that I want in there. So I want to check this box so that Legito leaves it as it is. So I'll just say add advanced layout design. So now I've got this proposal layout and I just need to apply it to the template. And the way I would do that is I go to the template settings for the specific template. So I go to proposal and then I go to advanced layout design and I can choose that proposal layout. So now if I come back here, in fact, rather than use that, I'm going to open an existing document so that we don't have to type in any answers. So I've got a Legito proposal that I've typed in some values here before. So I'm going to go ahead and just edit that document. It's just so that we don't have to type in any of these answer values. And now if I download this document, so notice again, I've got a proposal layout. I'll show that in a moment. Still just a table here. So we're not trying to show all of the content here, but I'm really using this as a facility to generate a document quickly. So I've got a form, just do some data input. I can see the table if I want to. But if I hit download here, I'm going to get a full proposal because it's using that proposal layout. So open that proposal. And you can see, the client name came in for ABC Company, the date, the client information here at the top, and then it's all the content as it was in the layout document. And then down at the bottom, I'll have my table, as I saw the template, will also be merged into this document. So there's my description of services and my information that's created. So you can use these layout designs in nice ways to pull in, fairly static content, nice cover page, and then you can even use those tags to pull in some specific data values from the template. And just to show you how that works, let's take a look really quickly at tags in the template itself. So if I look at the proposal template, go to the form. If I want that client name to go into the document, I do have to have a tag with it. And so if I click on client name and go to tags, you can see here is the client name tag. So that's the actual value or the tag name that's being used in that actual placeholder and the advanced layout design. So advanced layout designs really can be quite powerful to not only manage styles and layout, but to really even manage some additional static content that you might have in your document around what needs to be in the template content that's really automated within the automated template. So you've got a lot of flexibility of how you might choose to use that. All right, so that's styles and advanced layout design. We're going to go to questions at the end just to make sure we cover all of the topics. I want to spend the next bit of time on repeats and conditions. And to do this, I'm really going to dive into just a start from scratch template to show a few things. So I'm going to close this out. And what I want to do is I want to go to templates. We'll create a new template and we'll just call it repeat example. And we'll show a little bit of conditions and repeats in this same template. So we'll see a little bit about compound conditions and some tips and tricks around a few of those things. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up for edit. And I'm going to just choose start from scratch. All right, so I'm going to create this new template. Bear with me just one moment. All right. I apologize. Apparently something with my audio. I just saw a note there that when I open Word, it causes that problem. I've never had that happen before, but I apologize. So I won't open Word anymore. I don't have to open Word anymore for the rest of the webinar. So I apologize for any of the audio that's cut out when I'm talking through Microsoft Word. All right. So what we want to look at here is creating some repeats. So I want to show a few different ways to manage and create repeats. And if you've worked with repeats before, some of this will be kind of basic to start, but I want to show both creating a repeat that might repeat a paragraph itself, but also where you might repeat inside of a paragraph and how the logic might look around that as well. So let's say we've got a paragraph here and we have names, right? So let's say right now we're just going to put in name and a text input field. And then maybe we have a paragraph that we want to just say how many names are there. Now this is probably not how your templates work most time, right? You're not going to gather this. You maybe want to let somebody click a button, but I'm going to show you both ways. So a repeat can happen off of a text input field or off of a button. So I want to show those both really quickly. So if we say this is, number of names, and then we can even set a property here that says allow for repeat. Maybe we allow only numbers. So there are properties to control some of that on a text input. And then I can choose to repeat this paragraph based on that text input. And the nice thing, again, if you're not familiar or comfortable with this in Legito, you do get these nice suggestions. So the suggestion I need is actually right there. I find that happening a lot when you're working with a template for your initial condition or repeat. Now, if it's a little bit more compound, Legito obviously can't suggest some of those things as easily. But if you create a question, you want to base off of that question, you create an input, you want to repeat off of that input or that button, those suggestions are often there, make it really easy to create that repeat. So I'll go ahead and just click that. And that quickly, now I've got a repeat that's going to repeat this paragraph based on the number input there. And if I just save and test, and I type in a 3 there, then I get my repeated 3 times, right? Now, there are cases in documents I've seen where this does apply, and you're going to input a number and then see that repeated that many times. So that is a valid way. I think the most common way is you're doing some input and you want the user to just click a button for each name that they want to enter. So let's show you that. We'll just modify this really quickly. So now we're going to repeat. So we'll just remove that repeat just to clear it out. We don't need this paragraph at all, but we need a new paragraph for a button. So I can drag in a paragraph. this paragraph, we don't really want any text to come in, so we can remove our numbering and we'll put in a button. We can delete that. And we'll just highlight this and say add name. Just call it add name. And with the auto numbering, you can see it automatically gave that system name add name based on the text that I input there. So now I want to repeat this paragraph again, but based on the button, same thing. I get a suggestion there. So one more thing before I add that repeat. If I go to conditions and repeats, if you don't use this, I tend to use some of both depending on the context of what I'm doing. But we've got this conditions and repeats tab. If you haven't noticed it, it can be a really quick way to add these, especially with the suggestions. So this is drag and drop. So either recently created ifs or conditions or repeats, you can easily drag and drop into a control and apply it. So here is the repeat I want. Repeat every time the user clicks the button, add name, and I can drag and drop that. And notice it'll highlight the specific thing that I want. So if I want the whole paragraph to repeat, I can just drag and drop. And now I've got my repeat applied. And so now I can just go in and click add name. And every time I click it, I get a name. And then a pretty common thing with this as well is, hey, I want the first name to always show. If you want that first name to always show, you can click on the button, go to properties, and set a minimum value of this button of 1. So if I set that minimum value of 1, save and test, now I've got add name there for the first one, and I can add additional rows. So I can have that defaulted to show 1 value. Now this is great, right? I can add, I could repeat a numbered list. I could repeat a bulleted list. I could do this on a table. In fact, if we look at our proposal really quickly, so if I leave this open and we just go to the proposal and edit that proposal document. Take just a second there. You can see here in this table, if I click edit on this table row and go to repeat, this actually has a repeat applied to it as well. And it's saying repeat this row every time the user clicks a button in the form named add another subscription. So the user is filling out the form. Every time they click the button, it adds a repeat to that form. And this row is tied to that subscription form that is repeated. So it's just going to repeat this table row every time they click that button. So I can have templates that repeat paragraph, row, column of a table, even if I wanted to. But the more complex example is maybe I want to repeat inside of this paragraph a formatted list of names. So I want Mark, John, and Joan. So I want a formatted list of names. So I want to show you how to do that really quickly. So we'll close this. And we'll come back to our example here. So let's just say we'll change this to names, and we're going to put a formatted list in here. So I've got my name field. So what I want to do first is I'm going to remove the repeat from the paragraph. I do not want to repeat the whole paragraph. I want to repeat this, right? So I can say repeat every time a user clicks add name there. And maybe I even add the button right next to this. I don't even need the paragraph below it anymore. So now I'm in the context of my document. I have a name field, and I'm going to let them repeat that name field every time they click the button. So I say save and test. And if I click this, I get another name field. Now that's great, but I don't have any punctuation yet. So I would just get a list of names with a space in between them that I want a formatted list of names. And so I can add some additional controls and repeat them grouped together, and then add some conditional logic to show the comma or the and when I need to. So let me show you how to do that. So we'll add in. Now there are different approaches to doing this. You could just change the logic based on where you put it. I'm going to show you my approach. It's just my preferred method of doing it. I like thinking of the logic this way. I think it makes the conditions a little bit simpler. But I'm going to drag in 2 text controls. One I need a comma, and one I need an and. And then I've got my repeated text input as well. So I like to put them before the text input, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But the first thing I need to do is I need to apply the repeat to all of this. So I'm going to use Control plus click to select all 3 controls, right? So with that, I've selected all 3 controls, and now I can go to repeat. Now it gives me a warning because it says a repeat already exists on that one control. I don't care. I'm going to apply over that. So I'm just going to use that same suggestion. So now I'm going to repeat all 3 of those things. Now I could test this, but as you can imagine, if I test this, it's going to show comma and value, comma and value, comma and value. Well, I don't want that. I want the comma and the and to only come in certain situations. So now we need some conditions on the comma and the and. So to do that, what I want to do is I'm going to click on the comma. And if I want to condition it, I'm going to give it a name. So I'll just call this a comma for easy. And I'm going to go to the conditions tab. Now I'm not going to find a suggestion that does exactly what I want. I want this comma to come in. If I scroll down a little bit here, I can't see that. It's going to be hidden by my examples or the suggestions. But I want this comma to come in basically on the first, after the first one. Now, because I put this comma before the first one, I don't want it to come in on the first iteration. So I want it to come in on the second and any further iterations. And I don't want it to come in on the last one, because if it comes in on the last one, it would be comma and. Now, if I want comma and, I could, but I don't want it to come in before the first or the last. And so I've just got a compound condition that I need to say, hey, put this comma in only if it's the first one, or if it's not the first one and it's not the last one. So that's my condition. So I can create that condition, say add the selected text to the document if the text, so I'm actually going to condition on itself, the text in the repeat example named comma. And then if this happens to be repeated, I get some generic expressions that are contextual in the repeat. And so there they are, is and isn't first, is and isn't last. Like I said, I want this if it isn't first and it isn't last. So to add that compound expression, I can just click on next condition and do the same condition again, text, repeat example, comma, isn't last. And now I've got a condition that's going to put this comma in as the repeat happens, as long as it's not the first or the last iteration. So the isn't last helps me also if there's only one. So if there's only one, it's the first and the last. And so this won't come in. All right. And for the and, I need a similar thing, except I only want it when it is the last iteration. So I can do the same thing for the and, but I can change it to say isn't first and is last. So I don't want it on the first iteration, but I do want it only on the last iteration. So really I want it on the last iteration, but when the last iteration isn't the only iteration. So I can say text, repeat, comma. Oh, sorry, I did. We can do comma because they're repeated together. Technically, it would be better if I changed this and gave it its own name and said and. So we'll name it, and then we can click on that again, change it to and isn't first. Now it would work if we conditioned on they're repeated together. So I could condition it off of the comma control, and that would work just fine. But now I say isn't first and is last. We've got our conditions, and if I save and test, now if I add name A and B, okay, because I only have 2 iterations, the comma doesn't come in because the first is the first and the second one is the last. And so our condition still keeps the comma out, but it is the last iteration of more than one. So I get the and so I can do A and B. If I add a C, now I'm going to get A, comma, B, and C. And if I add another one, it just keeps adding that comma and moving the and for me. So I can do this with a nice formatted list. Even if it's linking to a repeat in a form or some other place in the document, I could use link controls instead of the text input and repeat off of the button or off of a text input to do this type of formatted list. And so I can do this with larger amount of controls, group them together and repeat them to accomplish that in my template. So I really wanted to show that capability. You can repeat, table rows, cells, paragraphs, columns, but then you can also repeat in the context of your sentence within your template easily as well. That's a pretty important thing to be able to accomplish in in a lot of legal documents, right? Or banking or real estate. So if you're I've got a number of guarantors, and I want to list the guarantors in some banking documents. I've got a list of children that I want to list in an estate planning document. So I've got lists of names all of the time that I'm putting into documents. All right, so with some remaining time, what I want to do is show you a little bit around Legito objects. Before I do that, sorry, I did want to point out one more thing with conditions. So building a compound condition, I just opened this template because it was what was in front of me. If I want to build a compound condition, we did one that was pretty simple. That was just this and and that. That's pretty simple, but sometimes I need this and that, or this and that. And so I need different levels of complexity in those conditions. So not only do I have next condition, I did just want to point out as well, you can add condition groups. And so if I say add condition group, within that group, I can add conditions, and then I can add another condition group. So now I've got this and that, and I can change this to or. So I can say this and that, or this or that, and I can build those conditions out as much as I want. And I can embed those condition groups on different levels. And so this could even have a condition group within it and within it. And so I can build a very complex condition if I need to in Legito. And those conditions, like you can see, as you build out those compound conditions, Legito does this numbering around those groups that really helps you kind of see things visually as you're building out a more complex condition of how those numberings work together. And so each condition group has an and or an or operator on it. And then between the condition groups, you have an operator of and or to get that logic that you need to build within your template. All right. So finally, I just want to look at objects really quickly and show you the benefit of using Legito objects. And I want to save a few minutes for Q&A. This should go relatively quickly because I've already set up the objects, but I want you to see them inside of Legito. So I'm using a very simple case here of an object called clients. So if I click on this tab at the top, I've got a clients tab, and that's because this is a custom object called clients that I've created. And you can see I've got 5 clients listed here. And if I expand this, the client has its own record, object record, that has metadata fields with it and data associated with it. So I can create or edit a specific client within Legito, and whatever fields are associated with that object, I can actually edit them within the system. So you can see in the document record, I've got, name, street address, website. I've got, client contact information. I can even relate documents to this client. And then that will show up inside of this this object record inside of Legito. Custom objects can be managed and created in your settings. And so you can create any kind of custom object you want that might apply to your business. So if I go to objects, you can see I've got an object here called clients, and then I've got properties that are assigned to that object. So I've got these different properties, name, address, and there are different property types, text fields, date, numeric, relationships. So I can relate objects to documents. I can relate objects to each other. So I could have objects embedded within each other. So within my list of client, I have a list of addresses and I have an address object, or I have a list of sub-entities or something. So I could relate a client to another client. So I can build those types of relationships within the objects as well. And so you have a lot of flexibility to create these custom objects. There are APIs around Legito that would even allow you to pre-fill these objects with data from another system. So from an integration perspective, you could pull data out of a case management system, and what do you call that in banking? The business where you're going to store all of your client and borrower, guarantor, and information in a banking system. You can pull that information out. You've got various systems where you have data stored that you may need to push into documents for a workflow. And so these objects could be used to allow manual entry of that data, or even using integration points, you could push data into these objects from another system. And then these objects can actually be linked to a template in Legito. And I wanted to show that really quickly. So if we go to templates, I've got a client selection example template. If we open that up for edit, you can see I'm going to keep this really simple as an example, but I've got those client objects. Let's say in the template, I want to select a client. I can actually create a select control. And then on the drop down for that select control, I can create manual options, but you'll see the second tab here, object records. If I choose that, I can actually choose from any existing objects I've created in my system. I only have one, clients. And then I can choose what property is going to show for this dropdown. So I want the client name. And then I can actually choose an optional additional label that would show, and that's really for the dropdown options. So maybe you've got some data points for clarity. It's better to show 2 different values in that dropdown so the user knows what they're selecting. So maybe I've got a client name and ID. I want to show them both or whatever it may be. So I can have an optional additional label. And if I've applied some filters to my object records, I could actually apply a filter. I don't have any filters to apply here, but maybe I have only the active clients or something like that. I could select that type of filter. And so with that, this is going to show me a list of clients. So this is tied to that list of clients. So if I save and test just this, now I've got a list of clients and I can select from that list. But let's say I want the client's website, contact name, and number. I can easily link to those as well. So if I drag in link fields, just to show you really quickly, I can actually, I could link to the client name, but let's just say I want to create a link. So I'm going to link to the select client exec. And I'm going to use client's name. But notice, because I'm linked to an object, as soon as I choose that, it gives me an additional option, insert value from property. Because this is an object, it's going to let me choose any property on that object that I want to link to. And so I could choose website. Now, a nice little shortcut here. If I want to link these as well, I could do that every time. But I've got this nice copy here. So let's say I can just paste that link. And I don't want it website, so I can just change it to contact name and contact phone. So a nice shortcut that works great with conditions and repeats as well. If I want to apply them to different places, copying and pasting, even if it's a link to something else, sometimes you copy and paste and you just change the last dropdown is a nice quick way to work with the solution. So with that, now if I save and test this with Blue Sky Productions, I get that information. If I choose Greenfield, then I get different information. So based on what I select, I'll get that information merged into my document. So Legito objects really open up a wealth of opportunity of integrating with your business needs within those documents, and you can link to them in the templates easily. Give the user just a selector, they select it, and it pulls that information in. All right, one final demonstration here, and I'm not going to dive deeply into this, but I did want to make you aware of this capability in Legito from an advanced perspective, is the ability to add scripts into templates. So Legito does have the ability to add scripts. They are associated with tags. So you can tag an element in a Legito template and then add a script to that tag that will run when that element is run. So let me give you an example. So if I say create here on this testing scripts, you can see I've got a simple template here with a couple of examples. I've got an input here, and then you can see it say capitalized text here. So if I just put in here in lowercase, you can see a script is running to put some capitalized text there. I click this button, it changes a label. A script is being run in all of these cases. I type in a zip code. My zip code, I live in Woodstock, Georgia. But if I type in another zip code, then I get a different city and state, Schenectady, New York. So this button is actually using a web service. So in all cases here, there's a script on the back end that is applied to that tag that is set on that control. So there's a tag on this button. You click this button and it runs the script associated with that tag. And so a quick look at that, that is TypeScript, our scripting. But if you want to use scripts, so if we say this lookup city and state from zip, this is the actual web service call. There's the script. And if I open the script editor where you can edit this, like I said, this is development, this is coding in TypeScript, but you can create these scripts. And there's a whole Legito TypeScript definition or API that allows you to get and set values of elements inside the document. And so this is basically looking up the zip code, calling a web service to get the city and state for that zip code, and then setting the value back in the document. So scripting is capable inside these top documents for some more advanced feature set. Scripting is not enabled by default in your workspace. So if you're a client and you want to use scripting, please contact your support rep or sales rep, and we can help you with that. All right, with that, I know I left just a few minutes for questions, and if we run a little bit over, I apologize. Thank you for those who have joined for this time. I again apologize for the audio issues we may have had, but what I want to do is turn the time back over to Charles for any specific questions we want to answer, and then we're happy to follow up on some questions if we can't get to them in the allotted time here today.
Okay, so I'm going to add an observation of my own in a minute, but because we've got this running on several streams, I'm just going to give Mark a chance to look at the Google Doc where we were sharing some questions, so he can have a quick look at that while I add some observations for the people listening.
Absolutely.
We'll see what we can cover in the time. So the difficulty, of course, of running a session on advanced features is they're going to be advanced. We don't want to put anybody off, and the chances of you absorbing every detail from that in 1 hour, we realize is pretty small, not helped by the audio at times, but we just want to tell you about some resources that are there. First thing is, one of the reasons for doing this is so you realize that the advanced stuff will be there when you need it. If that is you now, we do have an extensive knowledge base online. And we also have multiple consultants who can help you with some of this. Now, in practice, new folk coming to Legito, they often sort of use us to do a bit of a quick start, and there tends to be a bit of a knowledge transfer there. And these are the sorts of things that come out. So if you're looking at that thinking, my word, I'm never going to do it, you really will, because eventually everybody does, and people seem to have a thirst for these things. But please don't feel daunted. Look at the resources we have, and if they aren't sufficient, then reach out to Mark and to any of our consultants, and we'll find a way to get that knowledge transfer there. So Mark, have you had a chance to look at the questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me answer a few. But again, let me just echo what Charles said. From the beginning, I tried to state that this webinar is advanced feature set. So if you are new to Legito, this is truly diving in the deep end of the pool. So we covered some more advanced topics. We certainly hope for those who are comfortable and familiar with Legito that this was useful, and for those who are joining for the first time, that you still found it informational and understood some of the power of what you can do in Legito. So
we're probably going to have to limit the questions, aren't we? We're probably going to run out of time to do all of them, I think.
Yeah, so just a couple questions that I do want to answer. One was asking about sorting repeats from A to Z. Currently today, you can't sort repeats inside of Legito. Another question was, if I have a set of vendors or something with objects and I want to select only some of those vendors in that client selection, can I do that? The answer to that is yes. So when I showed the object records and the select, and you had a filter, so you can create a filter in the objects page and save that filter, and then that filter can be applied to that select control. So that I want to show only the vendors in the Northeast area or something like that, I can build that.
Okay. Well,
I think that's
tackle another. No, we're going to close on the hour.
Yeah, I think we can close on the hour,
okay.
And we'll follow up with any additional questions.
Right. Thanks, Mark. Contact details are readily available on the website, so please do follow up if you've got any further questions. Thanks for joining us. Apologies slightly for the audio. It will be recorded if you need to sort of play it back slightly slower, or if we left you with too many gaps, then we'll find a way to plug them for you. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.